Welcome to From Loneliness to Overflow with Matina. This is a space for honest conversation, for moments when something inside feels heavy or disconnected. Each episode features practitioners and wellness spaces sharing the intention behind their work so you can feel into what resonates and discover support you can experience directly. Wherever you're arriving from today, you are welcome here. Welcome to another episode From Loneliness to Overflow with Matina. Today's guest is a soul who heard her whispers, who followed tradition, followed the science, followed what school told her to believe, yet also heard her inner calling. Those whispers that we sometimes ignore, those whispers that we sometimes say, no, it's not that way because the world is telling me this way. And through her journey, came to a completely different realization and practice in a different way. So I am so excited to share and have this conversation with Bethany today, where we can follow the tradition and listen to the whispers. Welcome, Bethany.
Thank you, Matina. Thank you for having me.
It is such a pleasure. I'm so excited for this conversation, for our listeners to hear the wisdom that was pouring out of you and how you leaned into it. But before we step into that, please introduce yourself.
Okay. So I'm Bethany, and I'm an occupational therapist, a psychotherapist, and a student of osteopathy. And I have my own private practice. I'm just finishing up my third year of being in private practice, and I am doing occupational therapy and psychotherapy a little bit different than, like, as you said, than what I learned in school. Yeah, it's really invigorating to be able to do what I've had the calling to do, but was restricted from doing.
Ooh, restricted from doing. I'm sure we're going to touch upon that during the conversation. But like every time, I really want to start with this question. What was your own loneliness or disconnection moment that actually has led you into the overflow that you're living today?
So I would say there's probably a few different moments. I'd say two key, I don't know if there were one moment, but kind of two leading up to. Back in 1999, no, sorry, it must have been 2001, I had an injury that I had an accident where I had persistent pain after that, and for my right upper arm, and basically for 10 years didn't use my right arm very much, and was in a place of persistent pain, depression, PTSD, and not really knowing which direction to go with my career, with direction to go with really what I wanted to do in life. Then I thought I found my aha moment of finding OT. So I was able to, actually before that was I found meditation. So meditation and mindfulness after being in the medical system for 10 years and people basically, professionals telling me, I'm just going to have to live with this, and this is your new life now. I, outside of the medical system, went to a Vipassana retreat for 10 days and found mindfulness meditation, was able to completely change the way in which I approached my pain, the way in which, what medications I needed, and was able to come out of my fog and really see what was I was able to do. And I didn't have to listen to the professionals who were telling me this is now going to be your life, and realize that I could make a shift. So then that's when I decided to, once I kind of met that kind of recovery and this true me, I was invigorated and was like, okay, I'm going back to school. I'm going to be an OT. OT is so neat because it has so many different scopes of practice. I could do physical stuff. I could do mental stuff. I can do neurological and spirit-based, and there's so much to do in OT. I was really excited and invigorated by this, and was starting, even before I became OT, started doing some learnings about acupressure and different forms of energy medicine. And I thought, this is the perfect match. Okay, great. And I got into the OT world, and I realized, oh, this world does not match with what I thought I was going to be doing once I graduated. And so I guess my second loneliness moment, other than when I had my injury, my second really obvious one was when I was working in the hospital. I liked my job. I liked what I was doing, but as you said, it's very it was within a certain box of what I could practice. And whenever I tried to practice what I felt was really my healing calling, it didn't work within that system. So I got brave and decided to open my own practice. And now I'm in that overflow where I'm aligning with what I, over 20 years ago, really started to learn about and see, and was the missing key for me in my healing journey. And so now it's really important for me. I'm able to provide people with that missing link that I didn't get and I had to find for myself after 10 years.
Right, right. There are so many things I want to ask here, but let's start with, what does OT mean for our listeners who are not familiar with OT?
Yeah, so OT is occupational therapy. And the classic way of describing it is OTs are guides to be able to, when somebody's not able to do what they want to, need to, or have to do, we help to facilitate finding ways in which you can do it. So in the hospital, it looked like prescribing a walker or getting some bath equipment, or it could be how you're able to get dressed. It could be how is your memory working and different cognitive assessments and rehab that you can do. What OT means to me, if you could picture your life as a river, and a river can be flowing smoothly, and at times, though, something might fall into a river, a boulder, could be an accident, an injury, something that wasn't really expected, and that slows the flow of a river. Sometimes you could have driftwood that falls in, and driftwood representing our something that maybe we were predisposed to. So perhaps something with that runs through ancestors before us, generations before us, or perhaps something that we had from childhood that's now coming back. And that might slow our river down. And then our banks of our river are support systems. Sometimes in life, we may feel like our banks of a river are crumbling. And sometimes our banks are really strong, but still the water's not flowing down. So my role as an OT is to, from a bird's eye view at that side of that bank, because I'm part of that support bank, is to look almost with a different perspective on where the blockages are, and with person seeing what strategies and really what their own inner wisdom, that they already have all the answers, being able to tune into that inner wisdom so they can navigate their river.
I love this analogy because it becomes a very visual thing for us to understand and look at and make sense out of. And what it also really interests me in asking, Bethany, is here you are, you go through this accident, right? And now you're doing all the right things. You're going to the doctors, you're taking the meds, you're doing all the right things based on proven science. And there's a place for proven science. We're not saying ever that science is not right. It's not even about that. But what I'm actually getting to is you're following all the path that is in front of you. You're doing the work, and still the pain is persisting. Still the pain is there, and you can't shake this experience out of you. So I'm curious to ask, would you want to take the listener who actually has gone through their own accident, maybe, who's going and facing their own pain right now, back to how you came to understanding that that pain was not going to be your life forever, and how you actually worked through it so the pain actually subsided and went away.
Yeah, that moment came during my first Vipassana retreat, my meditation, when I learned mindfulness and the principles that came along with that. So the idea that nothing is permanent, nothing is perfect, and I always forget the third I. So impermanent, imperfect, and impersonal. So nothing is personal. Where when you're living in persistent pain, the doctors are telling you this is permanent and that you have to learn to live with it. It's very personal because it limits everything that I could do. And it made life feel really imperfect and like always striving to make it go away, striving to make it do a certain thing that I don't want this, but I want that.
Yeah.
And through the mindfulness, being able to see that the pain was not what I thought it was. And by changing my perception of that pain, it changed the way in which I experienced pain. So it's not to say that I don't still have that pain and that it's kind of my red flag. It pops its hand up sometimes and lets me know that it's there. And it's now my beautiful warning system. But before, I was ignoring my warning system, seeing it as a danger, and really perceiving it as this horrible thing, where being able to really turn towards it and get comfortable with the discomfort and this most paradoxical thing. When you do that, the discomfort goes away it doesn't mean that I have to like my pain, but it means that I don't have to be afraid of it.
So what you actually undid is you were able to see it as, oh, it's not personal, even though it's personally affecting me. It's not permanent because now I'm receiving this new idea that nothing is permanent. And how do I then imply the imperfect component into it so that I don't have to hold on to it and I can be okay with being me and looking at the pain and feeling it and allowing it to subsidize. I feel this is very key for those who live with chronic pains or pains that are out of an accident or something, who have been told that this is going to be permanent, that they have to live with it, that this is not, there's no way that it can't go away. So I remember a client and we worked together around chronic pain, yet I had the hardest time helping her because she was married to the idea that nothing has helped so far and keep trying new things. But somewhere deep down, I don't believe it will bring me what I'm looking for. Had you have to deal with that for yourself as well?
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Because there's now in the work that I'm doing, learning that we all have these inner voices, and maybe we have multiple inner voices in our head, and that they come from time when they're trying to protect us from something. And sometimes hearing that voice of, but that self-doubt, that is that really the right thing? Um, and being able to listen to where that voice is coming from. And it's kind of what I work with a lot with people now is what are those protective voices, that kind of the self-doubt voice, maybe sometimes it's self-critical voice, and then our higher wisdom or true voice, that like our self energy, it's called an IFS, which is internal family systems. And it being able to listen to intuitively what is the right voice to listen to. Yeah, because there are going to be moments where you can theoretically understand, oh yeah, okay, this sounds great. Okay, yeah, let's try this out. But then when you do it, you're like, oh, wait a second, this is harder than it sounded, or this doesn't actually feel good to do. And it might not feel good to do at first. And being okay with the fact that it doesn't feel good at first. And it's not just a switch and it'll change. The brain is plastic and the brain will change, but it takes time. And the more we can tune into that, those wise words, that inner wisdom that we all have, but sometimes we can't hear that inner wisdom because of maybe what certain professionals are telling us or what the society is telling us or what our inner voice from maybe childhood is telling us. So it's, yeah, having that hope and faith and trust that it will go the direction it needs to go when the time is right. And also, I guess, to those people who are like, they feel like, I want to try that, but it's just not working. It's less through the theoretical side of it and it's more through the experiential. So we can talk our way, like we can talk about it till the cows come home. But if you don't actually do a practice and realize it and feel it in your body, then those voices in your head aren't going to believe it until you actually feel it to believe it.
Feeling is very important. Absolutely. And this is where mindfulness and meditation comes in. So there are so many different ways of practicing meditation, mindfulness. How did you practice it? And what was for you like, this feels good for me?
Yeah, there's so many different ways. I don't know if I've really honed in on one yet. I guess there's a variety that I have learned about. So one is Vipassana, which is insight meditation and or mindfulness meditation. That was, I guess, my gateway meditation, let's call it. And it really opened me up. I had done yoga before, but maybe not in the meditative way, more toward the, okay, my physical health, and which is also a good place, but it was not, it was just a different mindset. There's yoga, there's Tai Chi. I mean, anything can be a meditation. Brushing your teeth can be a meditation. If you do it, you can brush your teeth and think about your grocery list, or you can brush your teeth and really experience the five senses as you're brushing your teeth. And that in itself is a form of meditation. I guess there's such a wide variety out there that the principles, I guess, if you can apply these principles to any activity, then you could be calling it mindfulness. So if you are paying attention with a particular intention, with a attitude of non-judgment. So attention, intention, and attitude, if you can keep those things in mind while you're doing anything, it becomes a meditation or mindfulness.
What I'm really hearing, Bethany, is you sharing of the practice of being present in the moment versus thinking about the past or thinking about the future, and really being mindful of what you're doing, who you're being, and what you're feeling in that second of whatever is in front of you. Now, this, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this doesn't mean you have to sit still. It doesn't mean you have to not talk. It actually means you just have to be present with who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. And I absolutely know the power of attention, intention. And then the third one was
Attitude.
attitude. What I have learned so far is intention is absolutely key. How have you found in your own healing journey that when you shifted, even when, if that's from yoga, right? Like I'm doing it for my body versus I'm doing it for the wholeness of me, which is my body, which is my mind, which is my emotions, and which is also my spirit. In totality, it becomes a different experience than just doing it for your body. So I'm curious to hear, when it came to your insight, your intention, how that shifted with your own journey and how you are practicing it right now.
Yeah, I'd say it shifts almost every time I do a practice, it shifts in terms of where my perhaps intention are, depending on where I am at and what the practice is meaning to me. For example, sometimes when I'm doing meditation, say I do this one meditation, it's a chakra tai chi. I can zone into the physical because it's a movement-based meditation, so the physical side of things, but I can also zone into energy wise in terms of balancing of my energies and really, like you said, incorporating those elements, the mental element, the thinking part of it, the emotional part of it, the body part of it. The missing link off sometimes is the spirit part of it. So really, no matter where my attention goes, if it goes to thoughts, if it goes to emotion, if it goes to body sensations, really trying to then tune into what does that mean to my self energy? What does that mean to my spirit, my soul, whatever you want to call it, my connection to something bigger than me? And I feel that's the missing link in our medical system, which is one of the reasons why I incorporated into my practice, because I know it was the missing link for me. And sorry, I've probably gone on a tangent here and not answered your question.
Well, this is perfect. This is absolutely exactly what I'm asking, because what you are explaining is how you leaned into everything.
Yeah, and a variety of different times in my life, right? For me, it started with body because it was screaming at me. My body was like, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. And I'm like, go away. I could have chopped my arm off. I would have. It was like, just go away. So, but at other times in my life, yeah, sometimes that mental gymnastics pull at you. But when you're able to kind of decenter those mental side of things, that thoughts are no longer running the show, but thoughts are things that I can observe and thoughts are things I can decenter from and watch those thoughts and be like, oh, that's just a broken record thought. But oh, that's actually a good for there. I think I'm going to go with that and be like, no, that's a wise thought. I'm going to go with that one. And same with emotions, right? Sometimes emotions are so strong and overwhelming and feel like, oh, I don't want to be feeling this right now, but when you can lean into it, it processes, it discharges. It's when a bird hits the window, it takes feathers off. So you can just let yourself get into that emotion and then know that, yeah, there is something on the other side and there's going to be that insight and that wisdom that comes. Yeah, it's really embracing turning towards things we call as difficult, but maybe there is no difficult things. We just create that.
We might create it with the best intention for ourselves. When you talk about your journey, what I am picking up upon is you went through all the things that you needed to do based on the books. Then you chose to do this Vipassana meditation and went to this retreat for a few days. You really leaned inwards. You really were with an open heart, not knowing what was going to come out of it, not having a specific agenda for it. Just something was calling, you showed up, you did it. And that took you to a whole different trajectory. It allowed you to understand nothing is permanent. It allowed you to understand nothing is perfect. It allowed you to understand nothing is personal for you. So you could show up in a way that you need to for yourself and let go of that pain. Let go of what your body was so beautifully holding on to because it wanted your attention. It wanted you to know that with your knowledge, with your experience, you can bring something new to your clients, to people who have suffered so much and who are still suffering so much. I get so excited when I hear this because so often our personal hardships becomes the leading thread of how we support another person. How are you seeing this now in your work when you support someone else in their journey and when they go from, no, this is permanent to, oh, it's not, and it actually going away?
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see when you can start to see kind of that unwinding and that unfolding happen, and people really uncovering the layers towards their own self-wisdom. And that I'm not I guess people call it the helping profession, but I try it my best not to see myself as a helper, but more as I'm a guide, I'm a facilitator. I'm just along for the ride for your journey. I'm not an expert. I may have some lived experience of some things, and that helps inform my how I can guide, because I can understand I can understand the two sides of the coin and how it can really be sometimes comfortable to sit in that one spot because it's comfortable, even though it's really uncomfortable, be it depression, anxiety, or pain. Sitting within that, even though you don't like it, you know what it is. And that unfolding that can happen. And when we let that, just letting loose of what can be let go of, it's really neat to see that within my clients. And every client takes it in a different way, and it means differently to different people. And really, people being able to find that meaning and purpose that perhaps their river was blocked and it was not flowing, and really being able to see how the floodgates open and that their river was dry and now it's flowing, or perhaps it was really wavy and then it calms down, and seeing it in them in a variety of different ways. It could be in what they're able to now do and how they are able to function at work or at home, and or how they perceive things now, and the way in which they're like, you know what, that's something that really would have bugged me before, but now I can just see it and it's there, and it's not overwhelming me, and I can just let it go. But also in their way in which their energy that they present themselves with, and the energy that they are inhabiting, because we are within our body all the time, and this physical energy, there's the emotional energy, there's the spiritual energy, and how when they can really embody all of those different energetic parts of ourselves, yeah, it's really cool to see and work with.
It makes me emotional to hear you speak, because only those who have the goodness of others in their hearts say, I am a guide, I'm a facilitator, I'm not your helper, I'm not your solution. Don't cling on me, but actually allow yourself to see that you hold the wisdom, that you yourself have the answer. And it's so humbling and it's so perfect, because when we serve from that space, it really allows the person in front of you to open up. I know when I met you for the first time in person, you have such a calm aura. There's such a openness, a humbleness. Yeah, I know this, but let's see what you have to share. Let's see what is coming out of you, because that's where the gem is. That's where the knowledge truly lies. And in that humbleness, you still show them the way.
Yeah, yeah. And it's really getting them to almost show themselves the way, right? To highlight what they already know. And sometimes they don't know that they know. Yeah, it's really neat to be able to witness that. And it's with all my clients, it's really just an honor to work with people.
I can feel that. I can feel that you truly are so heart-centered and in service, that is the only thing that leads you. And I feel blessed to even have you on this podcast, because it allows others to hear that there's nothing wrong with them, that they are not missing the mark. They're not wrong. They just don't know what is the next step. And by having the right guide alongside of them, it allows them to see the next step. It allows them to keep moving forward and not get stuck at one point and retrieve back, because that is also a gain that I have done for myself and I've seen others do.
For sure. Yeah. Likewise. Yeah, definitely. Things can be scary. Things can seem scary. And even our own thoughts, sometimes our wise thoughts can be like when I open my private practice, I'm like, I'm really doing this. I don't know about this. And even myself, sometimes when I'm speaking to other occupational therapists, because I'm doing things differently than they're doing it. And I talk about energy. I sometimes frame it as the nervous system because it's the same thing, but a medical term like the nervous system, where some people prefer hearing energy and that's meaningful to them. But yeah, sometimes things are scary, and it's being able to have that almost sounding board and mirror and that guide, like you said, to be able to walk along with you and reflect what you already do know. And I mean, even myself, my clients teach me all the time. So it's beautiful uh, when your work is healing for yourself as well, which I don't know, sometimes I feel like that's selfish to say, but I think any interaction we have with people, if we're coming at it from an authentic self, we're going to learn and take something from that person. Everybody has a different story and different wisdom that they can share. So I guess every day when I meet with my clients, I get my own self energy can be refueled because I know that I am doing something that is bringing meaning to their life, and it's in some way filling my cup as well.
Absolutely. We learn from every single person we get to meet, we get to touch, we get to experience, and the way that they are. And there's no good or bad here. There's no right or wrong here. It just simply is. And thank you so much, Bethany, for sharing your story and your journey so openly and authentically, and for doing the work differently, for showing up for people and allowing them to see things can be viewed in a different perspective, can be said in a different way to lead you to that higher outcome for yourself that somewhere deep down you truly want to believe in, but you just don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
Now, we have a little ritual on this podcast where the previous guest has left a question for me to ask. And like always, the questions are always so beautifully aligned, and it makes me excited to even ask this question. But the question I have for you today is, what does being present mean to you? And how will you move forward prioritizing this?
I like that question. It really goes along with what we talked about. Presence to me is being able to find that sweet spot, the place where we don't often go to. So we may go to it from time to time when we intentionally do something to find that place of presence. But I think presence is connection to higher beings, connection to our higher self. And we can often, I guess, in terms of moving forward, it's noticing that when am I on the hamster wheel versus when am I being able to just be with that present moment, so that I can not for just the sake of being with the present moment, but for the sake of that connection and energetic connection to a higher being, to my own higher being.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for sharing and being authentic in your story. I am sure that those who need to find this podcast will find it with grace and ease, and they will feel that little voice inside of them telling them to reach out. If you have that little voice inside of you that's telling you to reach out, connect with Bethany, connect with me, ask questions. We are here to serve you. This is a journey that we don't have to do alone. And when women come together, especially, magic happens because we are there in support of one another. Yeah. And when there's no judgment, no fear, no comparison, nothing, it becomes a huge vibration of love. And that is what I get from you, Bethany. Thank you so much.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. For anyone who feels compelled to reach out, Bethany, all her information is in the comments below. In the description, you'll find all of her handles. Please, please, please reach out. Connect, do yourself a service of finding another way, having another conversation, approaching it in a different way. And what if that pain that you're feeling right now is not permanent and can go away? That's the gift that you can give yourself. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending your time here. Sharing your reflections in the comments or passing this conversation along helps this space reach people who are looking for support and don't always know where to turn. Take a breath as you transition back into your day and notice what's present now. I'll meet you again next week.